right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's CFE community chat. For those of you who aren't familiar with our chat series, we started this in April of 2020, sort of as a response, exclusively as a response to the pandemic and school buildings closing. And we didn't really know what to expect when we first created this initiative, but it's been super enjoyable for our program team to develop. And it's just also been really well received by our educator community. So today's chat is our 17th since April, and we are so delighted to have Dianna back with us. She presented a community chat last year, and we were so thrilled by the response, and everyone was really excited about what she had to offer and how she presented that we wanted to have her back. So she was lovely enough to do that for us. So for those of you new to CFE as an organization, I'm Sarah Happy Knight. I'm the co-executive director of the organization. We're a Chicago-based education nonprofit. We've been around for about 37 years, supporting and funding CPS educators so that they can best serve their students and grow in their profession. So in a typical school year, which this obviously is not that. We have 5 grant programs and an annual conference, and we award about 500 grants and fellowships to CPS pre-K through 12th grade educators. So that's, broad umbrella CPS, neighborhood schools, charters, magnets, sort of anything that would be encompassed by CPS and that district label. We know also how incredibly exhausted you must be at the end of each day, and especially as we're a few months into 2021, and as Dianna was just sharing with us, you have 12 weeks or whatever left of school still. So especially now, and especially considering how tumultuous and challenging this time and this entire year has been for the Chicago educator community, we're just so incredibly grateful that you chose to spend some time with us today. So thank you. We're really grateful. A few quick notes before we get started, just housekeeping type stuff. Keep your microphones muted if you can during the presentation piece. If you do have questions during the presentation, Dianna has sort of asked that these questions come forth while the topic is being discussed. So you can either pop them in the chat, you can use the raise your hand function, and we can go ahead and try to address those as they're being, that topic is being discussed. If you don't feel comfortable, again, pop your question in the chat itself. I'll keep a list of them and then we can address them as it makes sense. Just so you know, the session is being recorded. The recording will be posted along with the presentation itself and any associated resources on our website. We have a resource roundup section of our website that's relatively new. Within the next few days, it'll be up there. And then also keep your eye out in the chat box for helpful messages from primarily Kayla, but also me at certain points. And I think that's about it. So let's get into it. Our presenter today is Dianna Balcken. She has a BA in elementary education from the University of Akron, as well as a master's in English as a second language from the University of St. Francis. She started her education career with the YMCA as a preschool teacher, swim instructor and coach, and camp aquatics director. She's been teaching for over 15 years, covering a wide range of grades from pre-K to 4th. Dianna is currently teaching full-day pre-K at Armstrong Elementary in CPS. And when she's not teaching, she has a lot of other things that she does, but she is consistently actively training for triathlons and going on backpacking adventures. So Dianna's a very interesting, lovely individual, and we're just so thrilled again to have her here. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dianna.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I wanted to kind of start with a baseline for information. So if you're not quite familiar with Google Slides, we'll go through kind of what Google Slides are and how you can use them. And then what I'd like to do today is actually show you how to make a Google slide set. If you don't have the ability to do that right now, I completely understand. Like she was saying, this will be recorded and you can always revisit it, especially that section. So I'll show you how to make a Google slide deck that I have for my Bitmoji classroom, which I'll show you in a second. And then I'll also show you one that you can use as an interactive slide deck. the biggest part of this presentation is that I want to make sure that we are giving you things that you can use next year if you are in person. I didn't want to waste time. At the very beginning in the summer, I was pretty upset about how much work I was putting in for all these new resources that I was like, well, I'm not going to use this again. But as I've been making resources, as I've been polling resources and building things, I'm finding lots of ways that I really am excited about using them in the classroom. So there are ways of doing directed drawing that I'm kind of excited about. I can put that in the art center. Kids can pick a video and it'll show them how to draw a car, how to draw a bunny. My students drew a boat last week. They loved it. And they all have those options. They can choose what they want to do. Same thing with listening. When we do author studies, instead of being limited to the books that I have in the classroom, I can give them an iPad with all of the books from that author. They can choose what book they want to listen to or re-listen to, which would be great. So I'm going to present my screen. And like I said, kind of start with what a Bitmoji classroom is, and we'll go from there. So if you haven't heard about Bitmoji classrooms, it's basically a place for asynchronous learning. So my students are with me for 2 hours of live instruction, and then the rest of the time they're being given asynchronous learning activities at home. They're in preschool. So I figured that this would be the easiest way for them to begin to manipulate those learning by themselves. So I started with this front page, and you'll see in this corner right here, it says reading, math, fine motor, phonics, social studies, science, and art. So when I first started, each of these was just one page with their reading assignment so that parents could go I asked them to do daily, go per slide for each day of the week, take a look at what it said, and then work on that at home as that day's asynchronous learning. But as we've gone on, our rooms have gotten a little bit more complex and a little more complex. And now my preschoolers are able to get into this through the Google Classroom and go wherever they want. And I know that because when we come back to class, they ask for things. They've been asking for the how-to drawings that we've been doing. They've been asking for authors that I took out, like when I took out Pete the Cat. I don't know if you know anything about Pete the Cat, but it's a big controversy when you stop doing Pete the Cat. So I had to put that back in. But I love that. That's them guiding their own learning. And then I can put that in the classroom and it's fun to tell them, okay, hide and seek, go find it. So I can just walk you through some of the pages. So this is our reading page. These are our sight words. There are video links to each of these sight words to help them learn their sight words. This is our author study for our coming up unit on Lois Ehlert. So if they click on these books, they can read, it'll read it to them. A lot of these books will read throughout our unit, but if they want to revisit them, they're here for them. They have a link to Epic and their Raz Kids account is here. And then we just started doing book reports. So they've just now learned how to do the beginning and the middle and the end of a book. And they're now learning nonfiction, main idea and details. So they go into a Flipgrid account, they give their book report, and then students can say, oh, I really want to read that book. Let me go in Epic and find it. This is their math room. We're working on addition at the moment. This I'm leaving in here for spring break. Some fun ways for them to do fine motor with their name, some syllables. But basically what's inside these rooms is a mix of games, songs, books, and my students know how to manipulate that front page either by color or by word. And they know that if they go to the red page, that's reading, they'll get into the library, they'll get into the books they want to read. Or if they go to I think phonics is green. So if they hit the green, they come to syllables. The other room that I know they really, really like, we have a calm corner in our classroom. This is the calm corner in our virtual classroom. And I know they really like this room. I moved this room and I put in a new one and that was a no. So I had to put this one back. But I did try and make our front room similar to the way we have our regular classroom. So this is their calm corner. It links down into that. This is our question of the day. It's what we're going to talk about for the day. I also have started sharing their work in here. So I really like that they come in and I'm valuing the work that they're doing at home and they can come and take a look at the different activities. It's also a really nice place for me to put resources for parents. So if they forget how to get into Flipgrid or they forget how to do Epic, these are step-by-step directions for them to be able to do that. So that's a little overview of what a Bitmoji classroom is. I will help you set up that in a second. The other thing that you can do with Google Slides is interactive slide decks. Let me find there it is. So this is an interactive slide deck. the trick with an interactive slide deck is you have to assign the deck to each student. So let's say, for example, this one says making 10. So I'm asking students to make 10. There's 1 and then plus however many, and then they write in the number. But what happens if I only send this to the whole group is when anybody manipulates this slide, it stays like that. So instead of having to reset it every time, you can go up to File and make copies. And usually what I do is I'll put the name of the student here, and this will be Graham's making 10 or Aaliyah's making 10. And then I send that to the student in Google Classroom. This is a really awesome way of being able to do assessments when your kids come back in person. You can give this to them on an iPad or on a computer, let them work on it independently, and they're either able to turn it in. If they're in an upper grade, they can actually turn it into your email. You can look at it later, or you can just take it straight from the work that they're doing. It's still on the iPad. You can take a look at it. So it's definitely something I'm planning for next year. So we're going to go through how to make both of these. We're going to go through how to make a Bitmoji classroom, a really basic one, and then how we're going to make this interactive slide template for, we'll come up with a topic. So all of these are in Google Slides. So that is your first step. Let me find my, there we go. The templates that I've used mostly come from Facebook. If you Google Bitmoji Classroom for pre-K, Bitmoji Classroom for kinder, for first grade, there is a group for almost every single grade. And a lot of this, like all of this down here, I just got today. I go in, I make a copy for myself, and now I can manipulate it and do whatever I want with it. Please make sure you make a copy. If it doesn't say copy at the beginning, you're messing with that person's original version. So please make a copy. But then once you make a copy, you can do whatever you want with it. So I'm just going to pick a blank one. Okay. You title it whatever you want. I'm going to title this classroom. And I'm going to delete these boxes because I don't need them. If you're familiar with PowerPoint, it's very similar to PowerPoint. It's just Google's version of PowerPoint. So it's trying to make like that presentation slide stuff, and we're not doing that. We're using it more as a digital platform. So this is my blank canvas. So the first thing I want to do is make a background. You can choose colors for your background, or you can choose an image. I really like choosing images. It's my new favorite because you can get fun. Sometimes, like when it was snowing, I made this the background of our classroom for a little bit, just for fun. So now this is the beginning of our classroom. Then to pick pages that I can link to, I need to make something to link to. So you can do one of two things. You can link a shape. So there's my shape. Okay, I can make that a link, or I can do the same thing I was doing before. I can take a look for an image. And I can link to this image. Okay, so I have two things I can link to. So I can make 2 pages. You can do one of 2 things to make extra pages. You can duplicate the slide that I'm on right now. So let's say I want to continue that winter background. I can duplicate my slide and I can delete my pictures. So now I just have the slide. Or I can go up here, get a blank slide, and we'll make it a color. Okay. So now I have 3 slides. I can put whatever I want on them. I'm going to take this one. The easiest way to link a slide is to hit Control K. You can link this slide to anything. You can link it to another Google Doc. You could link it to a video. You can link it to a website. In this case, I want to link it to slides in this presentation. So I'm going to link it to slide number 2. So now when I click this in present mode, it's going to take me to that second slide. Same thing with this cat. I'm going to Control K, and I'm going to link it to slide number 3. So now I have 3 slides. My main slide that's letting me do all the clicking for students to go where I want them to go, and I have 2 extra slides. So I'm going to go to my snow slide. Let's put a video of snow on my snow slide. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Video. And these are all YouTube videos. So I'm going to look for preschool snow video. Awesome. Actually, no, we like this series in our room. It's the science series, sci-fi for kids. My kids love it. It teaches kids on a very primary level about tons of different science activities. And there's this cute little mouse that runs around, and my kids love him. The reason I did the video where I insert it this way is I'm finding a lot of my parents and my students like being able to play it right on the slide. So if I press this, it's going to play this video right on this slide. They don't have to go to YouTube. So there's no clicking outside the box. There's no ads. There's no extras. It's just this video playing here. The only trick to that is if they click it enough, it's going to take them to YouTube. But it is a nice fail-safe to try and get less ads. You can just take the YouTube link and put it in here. But then when they click on this, they're going to go to YouTube to see that video. Okay. And in this one, we will find a book about cats. So the way that I do that is I go to Google. And I'm going to look for Pete the Cat, because why not? I find images of the book. This is a favorite of mine. And I copy the image. I go back into that slide deck. I paste it. So now I have the book. Okay. We put this book on, that's where all those Lois Ehlert books came from. Those are all links to YouTube, where I just clicked and copied the picture of the book and then clicked the, added the link to the YouTube. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go back to Google, excuse me, back to YouTube. And I'm going to look up this book on YouTube and show you how to do just the, nope, let's try that again. And show you how to link it from there. There are a couple ways of coding to get out the ads. If you are really interested in that, let me know. Coding is a little more in depth. It's not as hard as it sounds. I learned a lot of codes simply from looking at other people's links. But there are ways of embedding code into a YouTube URL that will show the whole book in the whole screen, which also takes out the ads. So I'm going to use this one. And maybe I will show you how to do that. So then I'm just copying the URL code, going back to my classroom, doing that Control-K, and putting that code in there.
Pete the Cat
Oops, sorry, guys.
walking down the street and hit.
Anybody want to listen to Pete the Cat? So let me show you, I'm just going to show you how to do it. So if you come down here, you see this thing that says watch V equals. That's coding. And it's coding for going straight to YouTube and watching the video just like we were about to. I don't want that. I want my kids to just see the video. Watch me do this wrong, but I'll try it. So I delete all that and I write in the word embed \. Same code. Everything else is the same. Okay. And I apply. Let's see if I did it. I did it. So then I get the whole book. No ads, nothing. This is a really good way to fail safe those ads. There's no way out of this. You can't double click and get somewhere else. This is going to show them the whole book on the whole screen.
All right, could you do that one more time?
Absolutely. The embed?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you for asking. So I'm going to take this link up here, which is the original link that you would get to if you would go to YouTube. Okay. I'm going to insert it into the link. So I hit that Control-K to make my link. Remember, you can send that link to anything. I'm sending it to YouTube. I come down here where it says, I get to the equal, and I back it up all the way to that \. And I write the word embed \. Okay. And I apply it. Now it's there. Okay. And you can add as many rooms as you want. The biggest thing I learned the hardest way is you need to make sure you add that. That takes my kids back home. The thing that I tend to forget is when I put in new slides, I just redid this for them for spring break. I tend to forget putting in a home slide. And if you don't do that, they can't go back to the first page. And that's usually when I lose them. So make sure you have some way for them that they learn that this will take you back to that front page. I just use this house on every single one of my slides and it takes them back to the main page. But what we just did is what every single one of these books is. It's a picture that I copied from Google and then a link to YouTube. Same thing with all of these. Picture from Google, link to the book itself. These are kind of fun. This is a picture of manipulatives, but it takes them to a place where they can play. My kids really like that. So let's try that. So instead of just putting a book in there, now let's put in a toy. So I'm going to go and search for an image. I'm going to put some Legos because hopefully that'll be easy to find. So I insert my Legos. And now I go look for a Lego game. I don't know of any Lego games, so I'm going to go to Starfall. All the resources that I have as far as Starfall, as far as toys, tools, there's about the math manipulative tools. If you Google what you're looking for, things will come up. A lot of people are starting to catch on to the fact that we need these things as educators, and they're starting to make them free for us, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to link those Legos to Starfall. Once again, I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to Control K. And I'm going to send this link is going to take them to Starfall. Okay. So that's pretty much how it goes. The easiest way to do it though is to take a room that's already made. So I've been doing that mostly through Facebook, like I said. And honestly, I just Googled Bitmoji classrooms for preschool and that's what came up. So this is my stash of preschool items. And Sarah, I might be able to send this stash to you for people who want to make their own rooms because it's just supplies. So in one of my art rooms, this is a Play-Doh's Play-Doh recipe. They can make their own Play-Doh. In one of my rooms, this is a click where they can go and paint. Sesame Street has a lot of resources to use. PBS Kids has a lot of resources to use. And really all you need to do is go to that page, wherever the resource is, click the URL and link the URL to the picture. And so that's usually what's happening with my students. They click on something, it doesn't take them where it used to take them. They get aggravated and I have to put it back. But yeah, I could probably send this to you, Sarah, so that people can use all these to make their own classrooms, because this is the hardest part, is to find the objects and to find, I've been stashing rooms here that I've taken out of Bitmoji classrooms, so that if I want to make a new room, I just come in here and look for a template I like. I really like this one. And then I can fill these shelves with anything. I can fill them with videos. I can fill them with books. I can fill them with manipulatives. So speaking of, like I was saying before, I have science rooms. So this is a slide deck I made for my kids for when we were doing the ball study. If you guys teach preschool for CPS, we were doing the ball study and we were talking about the different materials that things are made out of, but it's a really simple slide deck. But I let my kids play with it in the classroom and they really liked it. And then they got mad at me when I took it out. So that's a little bit of how to make a Bitmoji classroom. If you have specific questions, I can definitely answer specifics at the end when we have our Q&A, or if anybody has anything that really needs to be answered, you can ask me now. And then we'll try making an interactive slide deck. So an interactive slide deck is a little bit different. It's actually easier because what you're doing is you're repeating. So same thing, I'm just opening up a blank deck. And I want to teach my students how to do quantity. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick a background. In this case, I'm going to use color because it's just easier when you're using interactive to just leave it. I did do one with greater than or less than with snowmen, so the background was snow. So if you want to get cute and do that kind of stuff, we did one with alligators, so they were in a swamp. But a lot of times when I'm making interactive slide decks, I keep it simple and we just do color. Since I know this is an interactive slide deck, I'm going to go ahead and make a lot of duplicate slides because it's going to be this same activity repeated several times. And I'll show you what I mean by that. First slide, I usually put the directions. We're going to move the circles to make the quantity. This part for my preschoolers is really just for parents. I ask the parents to read the first slide and then leave their kids alone. The kids just need to know what they're supposed to do. And a lot of times I will show this in class so they know what to do. And at this point in the year, believe it or not, they know how to click into a Pear Deck or a Google Interactive Slide, do it all by themselves because I've already showed them what to do. They don't really need the directions because I already read them. I already told them what they're doing. So these are the directions. We go to the next slide and I'm going to put in a number. I'm going to make that number really, really big. And also change the font. And then I'm going to make a bunch of circles because I want them to count. And we'll put those circles down here. So I made a circle. I'm going to fill that circle in. It's going to be a red circle. And I'm going to make a bunch of them. I'm going to make them the easy way. So I will say for Google Slides, learning the control keys makes life a lot easier. There is in Pinterest a cheat sheet for all the Google Slide controls. They're very similar to Word. So I'm just going to control copy and then I'm going to paste a bunch of circles. Just faster.
Diana, we do have a couple questions that came in the chat. Are you able to see those?
Yeah, I cannot see them, but if you want to, is it okay if you?
So Stephanie asked, how did you link the slides? Does it take the students to another slide? So does that link?
You can link to a different slide in your presentation or to another website or it depends on where you tell it to link. Like I could take one of these circles and link it to a slide in this presentation. I could link it to any slide in this presentation, or I could link it to YouTube. Or I could link it to Starfall. And if they click that circle, that's where they're going. Hopefully that answers that.
Thank you. And let us know if we have tried to answer a question and you still have sub questions.
Yes, please.
And then Donna was curious how you get it off of Facebook, which I think is a really good question because I had the same one.
It is a really good question. So most of the people that are posting on Facebook are CPS employees. So I don't know how many of us are CPS. You don't need to be a CPS employee. You need to have Google. So if you have a Gmail account, then typically what you're going to see is a little blue link. You click that little blue link and it might take you to a page of different rooms and they'll all be named. Like today I went to that room and it had a curiosity room and it had a perseverance room and it had a habitat room, and you pick the rooms you want. You click on the room and it'll say make a copy. When you make a copy, it'll show up in your drive. As long as it says copy, you've made a copy of it. You can do whatever you want with that. It's yours and it'll show up in your drive. But that's a really good question. Sometimes I have found that either Google isn't happy with where it's coming from or not happy where it's going to. So there's some people, from what I'm understanding, and I'm not an expert, I believe it comes from the fact that if you're not a CPS employee going to a CPS employee, sometimes it won't let you have it because, believe it or not, CPS owns everything you make. So it's not yours. So if you're sending it out, which is why, Sarah, unfortunately, I can't send you everything, because if I'm sending it out and you're not with CPS, it might not let me send it. The easiest way to do that is to send it into another Gmail account, which is why I had to make another one, and then you can send it out from there. Okay. Any others, Sarah? Or are we good?
Not right now. Yep.
Thank you. So I'm going to leave these circles down here. I'm going to make my life easy and just duplicate this slide so I don't have to make those circles anymore because I don't want to. And then I can change this number. We're going to make them make a 2. We're going to make them make 3. And we're making them make 4. Back to that link question. I have not linked any of these slides. They are one at a time. So when a student uses an interactive slide deck, you're not presenting it. They're opening it just like you would open it on your drive. So they see all the slides on the side, just like you see all the slides right now on my computer. When you present it, they only see that one slide at a time, and it's only linked to what you want it to link to. So in an interactive slide deck, they see everything, and they can click and do what they need to do. So then I would send this to my students. I'm going to go through the whole process. I'm going to send this. This is going to be Diana's copy of the quantity. So I've made a copy of it for my student Dianna, and I can assign this. I can assign it in Google Classroom, or I could send it to the student in email. We have the benefit at the current moment, it's changing, to do one-on-one. So a lot of my students will come into their one-on-one, and this is the work they have right next door. So they know that that's the work for the day. And then they'll open it, and I'll ask them to make 1. Ooh, come here. And to make 2. And so on and so forth. Okay. These are also on Facebook, and it's probably the thing that I've gotten the most of. So give me 1 second. There we go. So I'm just going to show you some other examples of interactive slide decks that have been made, and then I'm going to show you how to overlay Pear Deck over one of them. If you've never used Pear Deck before, it's pretty awesome. There is a free platform for Pear Deck. We were actually just discussing, unfortunately, though, that the free Pear Deck does not include the elementary draw over, which is what my students use, but it does have multiple choice and a couple other things. But these are some of the interactive slide decks. I just sent this to my kids 2 weeks ago, and they loved it. This does have a Pear Deck overlay, and I'll show you that in a second. But basically, I'm asking the students to circle the picture that starts the same. Okay, so that's one. We've used this one also in just regular presentation. I'll show this slide to the students and ask them, this is the letter A. Can you look at the pictures next door and show me and tell me a picture that starts like ah? And we have all of them. But these are not mine. These I took off of the internet because the internet is awesome. This is that snow one that I was talking about. So this one I actually adapted for my students. I've obviously higher students and lower students, and you'll notice that this one just has the number. So I liked this slide, and I really liked the concept. It was definitely what we were doing. But for some of my students, the number was, they weren't ready for the number part. So I went and I just turned the number into dots. So in one of my slide decks, same concept, it's just one of them, excuse me, one of them has dots and one of them doesn't. So one of my slide decks is this way and one of them is this way. So when you're looking at things on other platforms or being shared from friends, you can always take a look at what's there and say, I like this, but I want to change this. And making a copy of it will let you do that. Speaking of, I'm going to show you how I did Pear Deck for my next coming week. So this is the Making 10 that I got, and I really like it. It's something that my students have gotten really good at. They really like, obviously, being proficient in something, but I want them to be able to do it on their own. And I can't do one-on-ones anymore because I'm gaining more in-person students. So if I send this out to them, I know that they're not yet ready to do it on their own. And what's going to happen is their parents are just going to do it for them. I don't want that. So what I did is I took this slide deck and I added Pear Deck over it. Changed the directions a little bit. And I'll show you how I did this. So Pear Deck is an add-on. You can get add-ons here. So if you're using Nearpod or Pear Deck, I don't really know what other ones overlay. Those are the only two I know of. This is where you get them. And once you have them, then you can open them. And it's just an overlay over your slides. So with Pear Deck, I have the option. I can have them text, I can have them type, I can have them answer a multiple choice question, I can ask them to do a number, I can inlay a website. The draw one is the one we use the most, the draw and the drag. Draggables are like little dots, and I'll show you those in a second. So for this one, I'm asking them to draw. So I clicked this draw. I don't know if it'll do it. Let me do it on the other one. We'll do it on this one. So I click draw, and it's going to overlay that ability onto this slide. So when I present this to students, they are now going to be able to draw anywhere they want on this slide. Same thing with this. So I'm going to ask them, they know tens frame, they know how to draw their dots. So what I'm asking them to do is draw in the dots that they need and count them and write the number. I use the draw feature because some of them can type, but not all of them can type. So rather than having to figure out who can do what, this is just easier for me to let them just draw the whole thing. So that is definitely something that you can do with Pear Deck. It's helped me quite a bit. The other one we just did, was that beginning sound slide that I showed you, where we use dots, where the kids dragged the dot where it goes. We also did it with syllables. Is anybody interested in seeing what these slides look like when they're done, like when a student completes the activity? Okay. So that is what I have for you at the moment. I wanted to leave enough time. If you have a specific thing that you want to learn how to do,
Diana, we do actually have a couple people who popped in the chat that they would be interested in seeing what they look like, if you don't mind.
Nope, no worries. Give me a second. I will sign into my account and you get to see my cute kidlets in their work. I actually really like I thought Pear Deck, the transition to Pear Deck was going to give me a lot of problems because I already taught my kids Jamboard and Flipgrid, and my parents are like, this is a lot. I thought Pear Deck was going to be too much for them, and every one of my kids does it. They love it. I think they like it a lot because it gives them control over what they're doing. They can draw on it. They can drag on it. Oh, sorry, guys. This is not my home computer. Hopefully it lets me in. Let's do this one. So I did this one for my students. This is an overlay where they draw. And I asked them to, I asked them to read the word. I asked them to use the flashcards that I sent home to spell the word, and then they wrote the word with using a mouse. So this is just that right one that that I just showed you. And then this one should be the one with dots. Yeah, it's a syllable one. You can make up to 5 draggable items. They don't have to be dots, but they can be. In this case, we use dots to show the syllables. So these were dots that were off in the corner, and the child had to pick up the dot and put it on where the syllables were. These are the 2 that we use the most in pre-K, but I know that the upper grades are using the the multiple choice a lot as well. What's really nice is you can overlay all your answers. And so I know that my students are doing really well with syllables because I can see they're all pretty much in the same spot. What I learned is they're not really good with single syllable words. So we're going back over single syllable words. Okay. So that's Pear Deck. Like I said, Pear Deck is something that it does cost. They do have a free platform. They also have a free platform that includes pre-made slides, just like you would be getting off of Facebook, but they're already set for Pear Deck. And it integrates with Google Classroom. So you can just, I can assign a Pear Deck to them, and instead of having to write in the code, which is I think what made it easier for them, you just go straight there. Okay. Does anybody want to know anything else specific as far as building slide sets?
So Diana, we have a couple questions in the queue. One specifically was around if it's possible for you to go to Facebook to show how you're doing these things you're talking about, or if you can't do that in the moment now, is there a way to, like, you know, put together like a little how-to that we could share with the participants post?
Bear with me. And I think I can. I can't sign into this computer, but I can on my iPad. Yeah, my iPad. So give me a second.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question about the slide or the slideshow?
Yes. Is this Asma?
Yes.
Yeah. Diana just popped away for 1 second. She's coming back as soon as
Yeah,
she's back.
maybe you can answer this question.
Probably not, but I'm happy for you to ask it.
What is the question?
So you set the background as the slide page color, and then you put in the number 1. Can the students manipulate the number 1 to change the question, or they can only move the red circles?
So there is a way that you can get it so they can only move what you want them to.
That's what I want to know.
My students, they just move whatever they want. There is a way of putting a transparent film over the slide and overlaying just what you want them to move on top of that. I have not done that yet, but I can show you the way that it works. So.
Let me ask you, before we get too complicated, when you're giving the slide deck to your students, do they erase the number 1, for example, and not know how to go back, and so the question would disappear?
Mm-hmm. So we teach our students that there's no mistake that's irreversible. So if it goes away, you move on to the next slide. It's happened a little bit at the beginning because they got click happy. We also use Jamboard, and they really like clicking and dragging things. So the biggest thing that happens for us is they'll click it, find out it moves, and then they'll move it. And that's fine. Most of the time they won't delete it because you do actually have to hit delete on your keyboard in order to delete it and make it go away. If they're moving it, that's their choice. It doesn't really matter to me where the 1 is, as long as you're putting 1 circle up there. But the answer to your question, at the current point where I have this, yes, they can move anything that's in here. And that's part of why I'm giving each student their own slide deck, because whatever they're doing to theirs, that's only on theirs. The way that you do the transparency is you would make a shape and you would make that transparent. You would lay that shape over the entire board. Let me show you that. So I would take this shape and I would lay it over the entire board like that. So now anything under that cannot be moved. The reason I don't like this is I forget that it's there. And then I get really frustrated because I can't figure out what moves or doesn't move either. It's not worth it for me, for my students. We've learned and we've kind of talked about the procedures. I do understand the need for it, and that's how you do it. For me, it just means that I tend to forget that it's there. But then what you're doing is you're basically taking the transparent slide over and locking everything under it so it can't be moved. And then putting whatever you want moved on top. Still working on the Facebook thing, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm in my Facebook account, but I don't want to show you that. But I'm trying to find what I found this morning.
part of the issue is, like I said, this is not my home computer, so I cannot sign into Facebook in it. But like Sarah was saying, if I need to, here we go. If I need to, I can show you how to do this at a different time. But so this is a really cool library, right? People do libraries like this all the time. If you look at the top, I know it's really hard to see, there's a little blue link. Do we see it? I know it's blurry. That's all you do is click that link and it'll take you to a page that says make a copy, and you just make a copy and that sits in your drive. So all you're really doing, this is pre-K through first grade Bitmoji theme rooms. All you're doing is scrolling till you find a picture you like and going, that's really cool. That's an Earth Day room. Actually took this room. You just hit the link. Actually, should take me there. You hit the blue link. Sorry guys, the computer's going slow. Not sure if the bandwidth is gonna hold, but you click that blue link, it'll take you to something that says make a copy. You make a copy, it'll show up in your drive. And you do whatever you want with it. No, maybe. Yeah, it's not gonna hold the bandwidth. Any other questions? I will say this, like I said before, I did not do that good of a job. I know I didn't. I know you guys have questions.
So Stephanie has a couple of questions, and I think I'd prefer if she asks them aloud, if she's there and able to. Thanks, Stephanie.
I think most of my questions for the Pear Deck, because I teach pre-K, and you had a lot of fun, like the beginning sounds, and there was another one, maybe syllables, I can't remember. But where do you find all of the, like this will be my first time using Pear Deck. And I know you said it's a free account and then there's one that's not free, but where did you find all those pre-K activities?
In Facebook. So when I first started in September, what I put into Facebook, because they have 1,000,001 groups, is I wanted to learn how to make a Bitmoji classroom because I knew that's how I was going to do asynchronous learning. It just makes my life so much easier, especially now that they're used to it. I just pull the rooms in and out. So if you go to Facebook and you put in Bitmoji, classroom for pre-K, there'll be a ton of groups that you can join. And what's really nice is it shows you a picture of the slide and you can decide if you like it or not. If you don't like it, at this point, I have a lot of slides and I have a lot of like author studies. So a lot of people will do Pete the Cat or Eric Carle or Dr. Seuss. I don't need those anymore, so I can pass those. But this Earth Day one, I don't have Earth Day yet. So I picked up a couple Earth Day slides and I was able to kind of combine them in a way that I wanted that I could then put into my classroom.
So when you went into Facebook and say you were doing like the one you showed in beginning sounds, you found it in Facebook, you copied it, then you opened it up in Pear Deck?
It depends. I can either leave it as an interactive slide deck where I make a copy of that slide set for each of my students to manipulate, or you can overlay Pear Deck over that and let's say have your preschoolers draw on the ones that are, it just depends.
And then you mentioned something that I was like worried about, the difference between sharing it with the student or putting it in a link. So how do you prevent students from working on the same slide by accident? So like, for an example, if you're in a slide and you share it with them, does that mean they'll automatically get their own individual copy, or will they be writing on the same copy?
So they're going to be writing on, so that's, when I work with an individual student, what I really like is you can both be in the same space at the same time. So let's say the screen that you're looking at right now, the one that we just made for quantity, I can share that with Sarah, and then Sarah and I are both in the same working space. It's similar to Jamboard in that we're both working on the same platform. So if she moves something and I don't want it there, I can put it back and say, let's try it a different way. That's how my kids learned how to use interactive slides originally, because they were using them with me. We were in the same space together. Now they don't need me anymore. They know what they're not supposed to do. And if they do it, it happens, we fix it. But I know they're not gonna go in there and just delete everything because they know better. But it did take a little bit of time for us to work together. If you are interested in Pear Deck, you can also use Pear Deck as a group.
That's what I was gonna ask. What if you had a group of 5 or a group of 4? That's what I was gonna ask.
So you can do it through Pear Deck, but you don't have to have Pear Deck. If you want to share this slide deck you can give this slide deck to 4 students, 5 students, however many students you want, and everybody's going to come into the same space to work. Now, Google would like you to use this thing called Jamboard,
Right.
which is a similar product, but you don't have to. If this is what you're comfortable with, this is what you can use. And then, yeah, you are all working in the same space. The only thing that I would say I like Jamboard better is it has tools for a primary level that are easier. So it's got shapes. It's got a marker so they can draw easily, rather than them having to manipulate this top bar, which is not easy for them. So let me show you, since we're here and we can, let me show you my Jamboards for my kidlets. We made rainbows today. So each one of my students has their own Jamboard. Be similar to using Google slide decks. It's just that Jamboard's easier for primary. Where is my friend Hudia? There is my friend Hudia. I put stickers on the front of their board just because it's the same thing we would do in class. So I wanted them to have a way of feeling excited about doing something. All of these are leveled for them, but this bar over here is so much easier to use in a primary level for preschoolers. And you can open a Jamboard in Google Meet now. That's new. And I haven't tried it, but I've heard good things. But these are all leveled towards them. You can make Post-its. That's what these are. So you make Post-its and you write on the Post-its. I have them put their numbers in order. Some of them are letters in order. These are a lot of pictures and sounds. But what makes this easier for a primary level is I can go over here, pick up the marker. They change colors all the time on me. And then they can just color on it.
Yes.
Rather than that toolbar in here is not as user-friendly.
Yes. So is there a difference, like when you were in Jamboard, sometimes I would copy it and put it in the Google Meet. Is that the same as sharing it with them? Because that's what was throwing me off.
So when you put it in the Google Meet, instead of sharing it, you have to be careful of them having the ability to edit. Sometimes if you put it in the Google Classroom, they're just a viewer. And if they're just a viewer, they can't do anything with it, share.
Okay.
So up here in this corner, it says share.
Yes.
Hudia is an editor. Now I could make her a viewer. If I made her a viewer, she can't touch or move or do anything in here. All she can do is,
okay.
She's got to be an editor.
So just make sure that it says editor. So if I copied it right directly into the Google Meet without doing that, they could be a viewer and then they're not going to be able to do anything.
Now, CPS did this for us to help us out. I don't know if you're CPS.
Yes.
CPS did this for us to help us out, especially with subs. It doesn't work. It's supposed to allow anybody that's inside this classroom, my classroom, to be an editor of anything that's in the Google Classroom. I've had 2 subs. Neither of them said it worked. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if the application just doesn't work, but that is what this line is. You're going to see this on anything that you have in the Google Classroom. Okay. And it's supposed to let everybody have edited access. I haven't seen it work that way. Okay. So double check your share.
Okay. And then with Pear Deck, do you use the free version or the one you have to pay for?
CFE was nice enough to buy it for my whole school. So we got the grant, which has really actually been a blessing. So we have the non-free version for the whole school, which is just, if I'm not mistaken, is just the drawing is the only one that I know of that we use that is not in the free version.
Oh, wow.
I think the draggables are in the free version.
Okay.
So if you can use that, that works. I know that at this point, my students are able to use the text feature, which is also in the free version. They understand this. Kids are learning and adapting. They know what this means.
Yes.
They now know that means they can type. And of course they want to type. So they know if they click this box, even in a Google slide deck, they can make a box and type in it because they do it all the time.
Okay.
So you can do the same thing in a Jamboard. They found it because of this.
Yes.
And then I had students who found this button.
The image.
Yeah, because they can put in images.
Okay.
So just things to play with. And it's not stuff that they're not going to be using later. This is what we were doing yesterday. Just adding cats to our Jamboards. But it's been fun to let them play with it. And at this point, they're comfortable enough with the platforms and they're starting to understand what each of the pieces do, which is kind of nice. So if you go into your Google slide deck and you go to add-ons and you go to get add-ons, you can put Pear Deck in there right now and see what it does for you. See what's available.
Oh, okay. So like for pre-K.
Well, see, you're going to look at, let me show you. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. But here, there's a ton of add-ons. I don't know what most of these do. I only know what this one does. But
Pear Deck. Okay, when you open it up.
When you open it up, these are options. So not all of these options are going to be open and available to you.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's limited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know this one isn't here. That's why I was pretty upset when I learned how to do it this summer, and then my 30-day trial was over and I was like, oh, but I want that one.
So do they have like pre-made lessons for pre-K? That's what I mean. Or kindergarten or?
Yes, they do. This is.
Oh. Oh, okay, I see.
These social emotional learning ones are the ones that the upper grades use quite a bit. Most of them start their class with, how do you feel? And the kids will put how they feel for the day. And it doesn't have to have their name. It's nice. I know in the upper grades to show that slide with all the kids overlaid and say, look, you are not the only one that feels like this. Look at where everybody is today. And it's just a really nice way to start the day. But yeah, they have a ton. These are all just beginning work. This is during the lesson. So like this true false one, you could do that one with Dragables with the kids.
Okay.
Agree or disagree. There's a bunch of them in here. This is the one that it starts with when you make a Pear Deck slide and you share it with the kids independently.
Mm-hmm.
It asks them how they're feeling today, which I really like. But like I said, you can also do this with them. You could all be in the same space together, just like with Google Slides. Just makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you for helping me.
Absolutely, that's why I'm here. Anybody else need help? Trying to think if there's anything else. I'm glad that we got to see Jamboard because we use this a lot. Basically, I used their quarterly assessments on what they needed to know and put that information into this. And then each student is individualized, which is kind of nice. So this kidlet needs to know their team numbers, is working on letter sounds, writing their names. And then we always let them, especially in preschool, draw. I had to explain to my parents the importance of this. They're like, why are they wasting their time? They're not. We talk a ton about pictures. The student that I was working with today, we had a huge conversation about how you make a rainbow. If you can see there's the sun and you have to have the rain, and she knew that. She got right to work on that and then was explaining to me how I should make my rainbow and that I did it wrong. And then so there's a lot of dialogue and just letting them draw.
So when you did this part where they were drawing, because I used Jamboard too, when you have I have like a group of 5, I would have to assign a frame to each student, or?
Do you want them each to draw on their own?
Oh, because they can also draw in the same frame.
They can draw in the same space, or if you take a look up here, you can see where they are. So what you'll see is their icon. So this is Hootie is. She's an H. So I know where she's at because there's a little H that sits up here where she's at.
Oh, yes. Okay.
You could assign each kid a different page. You could say, okay, you're going to go to page 4, you're going to go to page 3, you're going to go to page 5, and let them all draw. Okay. You can watch them all draw like I have all their slides up here. And then you can do a gallery walk when you're all done, and you can go back to the beginning all together. Oh. And you can go to the first person and say, okay, explain your drawing. And the second person, okay, explain your drawing. Third person, okay, explain your drawing. And everybody's looking at all those pictures after making their own.
Nice. See, I haven't gotten, okay, I'm going to use that. I would love that part.
Yeah. And you can see, it's nice because you can see exactly where they are and you can watch them. You can still see the screen still manipulates while they're in there. So I really like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm looking at your, that's Jamboard where you can see at the top, or is that Pear Deck?
This is Jamboard.
That's Jamboard? I never noticed that.
I'm clicking right up here where the slides are. and it gives me all the slides.
So, okay, do that again.
So right up here where the slide number is,
Yes.
you click it, you can see them all.
Oh.
I do this a lot because now we don't let our parents help our students at all. We have sink or swim, and they have to ask me. That's why I'm sitting here. And today, this little bit decided to add 20 pages to this book, and I couldn't figure out why she wasn't with me. And then I saw the number up here that was like 20, and I was like, oh, that's because you're on page 20 and I'm on page 2. So then we had to like back up. If that happens to you, you can delete them. And as you delete them, they'll come back to you.
Oh, I love it.
She adds like, this is what she did today. I was trying to figure out where in the world she went. She added like a bunch of slides. So she's out on slide 20. I just keep deleting these slides and she's going to come back to me.
Yes.
Which is really nice. And then we talk about arrows and we get her back to me. It's great.
Oh, okay. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This helps me learn too. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Am I missing anybody else? Wow. Okay.
Diana, something that came in during our registration period was how often, if at all, do you use these for asynchronous lessons versus synchronous lessons? I think, yeah, because it seems like this is predominantly something you would do when you're student facing in a synchronous.
We probably do one of each every week.
Oh, great. Can you talk a little bit about how it would work in an asynchronous environment?
Bear with me because my room is changing because my kidlets are changing. So my classroom doesn't look like it usually does because everybody knows what's happening on the 19th. That's happening to me too. So my room looks different because I'm getting ready. But this is how all of our kids get into their work. These are their one-on-ones. So they click into their one-on-one. Here's how they get to me. Here's where their Jamboard sits. So if you make a Google slide deck for this child, I put it right there on that side. So they know they click here, they click here. It was a learning process, obviously, at the beginning, but now that I've set it up this way, I'm really sad to lose this. They know they click one, they click the other, they're done.
I'm sorry, can you review that one more time? I missed that. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries, no worries. So I'm gonna go actually into the link itself. So I made a material. Let's back up so we all know how to do that. So create, come on computer, create. I created a material. And this material is Mr. Jimmy. Oh, Mr. Jimmy. Inside, I have his Google Meet, which is just for him. If I ever need to talk to his mom or ever need a meeting or an appointment with him, this is for him only. He's the only one with this link. No one else can come in here. I'm going to leave this for my parents. It's been a lifesaver. Anytime I need to talk to a parent, go to your Meet. They go in there, we can talk. And this is only for them. No other kid in my class has access to this but him. This is just a link. This is just a link to his board. I could go to my Drive and link to Huria's board. Maybe I want them both to work together today. I could link to the syllable thing that I just made. I could link to making 10. I could link to anything in here. It's just those procedures that I've taught my kids and my parents that when it's their turn for one-on-one, they go to their name, they open their Meet, and they open whatever I put over here for them to work on. Okay. So these are all previous assignments. So last week, we did a flip grid, we did a STEM sink or float where they made a boat, we did a flip grid for counting, and then we did a pear deck for syllables, that one that I showed you. And that Jamboard they do every week too. So that's the Jamboards with me, the pear deck was on their own and they turned it in. And if you don't know about Flipgrid, it's so fun to hear their voices. I love Flipgrid. It's basically just a video of them doing whatever you ask them to do. The book reports they've really enjoyed. They get to show off their book and they get to talk about how awesome it is. And then the kids all go look and see if they can read it.
So that unique Google Meet. That's not the same Meet that everyone gets on during synchronous learning. That's a separate link.
So we don't use our Meet. We don't use this link. I have a teaching assistant. I knew that there were going to be times where I wanted both of us to be separate from each other. And I didn't want to train my parents to go to this link when it wasn't always going to be this link. So we don't use our class code. My parents cannot see this class code. We don't use it. We instead use class codes that I wrote for each of our classes. So we have one for, sorry, my class is a little messed up at the moment. We have one for a whole group. I have one for specials. I have one for each kid. And I have one for all of my small groups.
That's nice. Never
I
thought
can
of that.
show you how to write this. Give me a second. Bear with me. They gave us this information at the very beginning, but they didn't explain it. Not at all. So the way that this works, since there's an interest, your Google class code only allows you and anybody in your class into your class. That's the way it's keeping you safe.
Yeah.
If you've ever gone to a Google Meet for administration, or maybe you have a grade level meeting and it's in your calendar, those are what they're calling not safe links because they never expire. If you make a link for Google Meet in your calendar and it's not written in the way I show you in a second, anybody can go in there anytime they want, as long as they have that number, the letters at the end. It never shuts, it never closes, it never ends.
Wow.
So that's not exactly safe if you give that to a kid, because they can hop in there anytime they want to and do whatever they want in there. They can tell their friends, here's this code, go here, let's talk, which talking is fine. Sometimes it's not talking. So they taught us how to make safety links, but they weren't really big into explaining how to do it. So this thing here is a safety link. It means no one can go into this until I'm in there. If I am not in there, I'm the one that opens the door. If I don't open the door, nobody can go in.
Nice.
Also, once I leave, I close the door.
Everybody
That
knows.
link's done. It's over. It's closed. You can't go back. In fact, a lot of my parents have tried to go back and they're like, I can't get into class. Class is over. You can't go back. And you just have to nickname it something. So you just have to put this part at the end. Okay. And let me, I can send that to you, Sarah, if you want to put that out. Let me, hold on.
Awesome.
Yeah, it saved us a lot. And like I said, it's really nice because each of my parents has their own safety link.
It's individual.
So I can tell them, if you need to meet with me, it's just me you're meeting with. My principal can't even get into that meeting because he doesn't have the code. So I'll put that in there and then classroom stuff. And I will send that stuff. Yeah, that's why I really wanted to have this meeting. I know you guys have a lot of questions of things that they sent out, but they didn't really teach. And I'm probably one of the only people that doesn't use my classroom link in my building. But now that people know what the opportunities for not using it, if we do it next year, they're probably going to do it the way that I've been doing it, which is Monday, all your links are there. Tuesday, all your links are there. Wednesday, all your links are there. And it's only the kid that gets to see those. So my classroom right now looks like a hot mess, but my kids only see what's pertinent to them for Thursday.
It's simple to me.
It's been helpful to my parents because my parents know when they go to Thursday, they don't know what time they're supposed to be. I don't know when's my kid's supposed to be in class. I don't know. So they go in the morning and it says, okay, blue group at 11.
Yes.
It says one-on-one at 1:30. Now my parent knows you need to be here at 11. This is where you go.
Yeah.
You need to be here at 1:30. This is where you go. Just makes life easier for them.
Yes.
And believe it or not, these are all the same links as they are above, but my parents don't know that. They still think they have to go to the day of the week, and that's fine by me. We'll leave it that way. But like there's one up here. Nope, I took those out. But like this one that says whole group at 10, it's the same one for all of my days, but they don't know that, and they don't need to know that.
Yes.
That means I can send them wherever I want to send them on Friday. On Friday, maybe I don't want to send them here. I want to send them somewhere else. Now I have the opportunity to do that because I assign it to that student and that student knows that's where they're going at 10. Now, whether they see me or my teaching assistant doesn't really matter to them. That's where they're supposed to be. And that's helped us a lot.
I like that.
Thank you very much for your questions. I appreciate it.
So helpful.
Yay.
Okay, so I just tried to do what you said.
Uh-huh.
I went to meet.
Are you going to tell me I did it wrong?
No, I went to I went to create. I clicked drawing, and that's not what I was supposed to do because I didn't see anything that said Jamboard. How do I get I'm trying to get my Jamboard in my Google Classroom. How did you do that?
Okay. So is it a Jamboard for everybody or just for one person?
I guess it would be for everybody.
Okay, so your easier way of doing that, Google just fixed that for you. When you go into a Google Meet, there's a little icon. I'm not in a Google Meet, I'm in a Zoom Meet. When you go in a Google Meet, up in the corner, it now says Open Jamboard. When you click Open Jamboard in a Google Meet, it does that for everybody.
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, hold on.
I see. Oh, wait. At the top, what's it gonna look like? Nope. Air Hangout.
Okay, hold on.
I only got 4. I got a microphone with a cross on it, a grid.
Okay.
Show everyone.
Hold on.
Chat with everyone. Activities. Is it under activities?
It is not.
It's not.
Oh, I know where. Okay.
I teach upper though. Does that matter?
It doesn't. So it depends on the platform because in here it's looking at what you're looking at. So do you see? Can you see my Meet?
I'm looking at you now. Go ahead. Tell me.
Can you see my stuffed animals?
I see your stuffed animals.
All right. So there's these 3 dots down here.
Where? Where?
Down in the lower right-hand corner.
Lower right-hand corner.
3 dots.
Lower right-hand corner. Yes.
Next to
I
present
see
now.
the 3 dots.
So click on that.
Whiteboard, open a jam.
And that'll open it for everybody.
Start a new whiteboard or choose one from Drive.
Or one that you already created.
Okay.
But that's a new feature. Google just added that January, February.
Okay.
I haven't played with it yet, but it basically opens the Jamboard for everybody that's in the Meet.
Okay. I just need to know. I gotta have the basics. It's probably not gonna work for my group, but I'm gonna try it anyway.
Try it and see how it goes. And if that doesn't work, I mean, depending on what you're doing with them, you could open up one Jamboard and give every kid 1 page if you needed them all to do something different. So like the cheap version of Pear Deck, give every kid a page, you're number 19. All right, solve this problem. Then they can solve the problem.
So when you did that, when you just did that, you're saying I can assign a kid a page and the page will stay with them for as long as I wanted to, no?
So this slide deck has 5 slides in it. If you have older kids, you could say, so-and-so, you're slide number 3, so-and-so, you're not in slide number 4, so-and-so, you're slide number 5. I want you to go to your slide. You then can take a look and make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be. And you can say, okay, I want you on your slide to solve 5 plus 5. Write 5 plus 5 on your slide, solve it.
Okay.
Now you have the feedback from all of those, which is what Pear Deck does for you, but this is free.
Okay.
And then if you want, you can go back and take a look at different slides and say, okay, well,
Everybody's answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is how
But
this
they
works.
can't necessarily see each other's answers. Only I can see everybody's answers, right?
They can slide back and forth if they want to.
I see.
So they could.
Okay.
Yell at them. They'll stop. It's fine.
Thank you.
Right? They listen. Sure. Just tell them, stop it. No, I just tell my kids, well, if you can't follow my directions, then we have to do it the boring way. And then they usually listen because they don't want to do it the boring way. This has been awesome. Thank you, guys.
You've been awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions? I'm glad I left time for these things. This is good.
I don't see any coming in through the chat. People are enthusiastic and emphatic about how great this has been. So you did a great job, Dianna. So I would encourage people for sure Huge round of applause. I would encourage people to reach out to me directly if you have any other questions that pop up, like if you sleep on it or you try something tomorrow or something and you have other questions. Diana's been amazing and super, just such a super resource for us and our educators. So if you think of anything, reach out to me and I'll, you know, pull her into the conversation. And if you think of anything else that you feel could be beneficial in this type of, you know, format or environment, we have done, like I said, this is our 17th community chat since last April, and we're planning on doing them sort of indefinitely. They've been, again, really well received, and we've done a ton of different kinds of them. We've done some, you know, like yoga, we did a Pilates class, we did a wreath making class, but then we did a whole series with the Nope Art Museum. And so we do a lot of content-based ones too. So the great thing is too, that all of our chats, like I said, are recorded and they're all cataloged on our website. So Kayla just popped the link into the chat for our community chats, and you can go there and all the recordings are there. So you can go back and revisit. You can revisit this one as many times as you want, just to, you know, there's a lot of information shared. So I'd encourage you to do that. And then also just keep in contact with us. Again, if you have any questions or ideas or things that we could be doing that, you know, would be better supportive of you and your colleagues, that's the whole reason we exist, is to be as supportive as possible to our amazing Chicago teachers and educators and staff. So that is why we've been around for 3.5 decades, and hopefully we'll be around for a lot longer. And that's about it. So, you know, we thank you for everything that you've done and continue to do. We, you know, Kayla and I both are former teachers ourselves, and we never had to teach in an environment like this. So we just truly, you know, are so thankful for everything that you do and all that you bring to your students and your communities. So that's that. And Diana, thanks again so much. You've been just wonderful. So have great nights, everyone, and please stay in touch. I'll send a follow-up. I'm actually on vacation technically, so I won't send it tomorrow, but I'll send it early next week. And there'll just be a little survey and then a link to all of the resources that and the recording from today. So at any rate, reach out if you need anything else, but I hope you have great evenings and hang in there. And thanks again, Diana.
We're getting there. We're getting there to the end soon. Fourth quarter. Woo-hoo.
Bye, everyone.